start the session, the discussion of the pre-scene relating to ABR. Now, I have identified 5 areas that can be tested in this time based on the given pre-scene, including the analysis of past papers as well. Basically, it's obvious that the business combination tested in this question and the corporate governance requirement for listing. I think it has been highlighted in many places. Therefore, that corporate governance can be tested in this time. And not only that, because of the December paper has not tested corporate governance in the question number 3. Therefore, this is the time to test that corporate governance with the question number 3 and the information available in the pre-scene as well. Then internal control weaknesses and the development, even though it was tested in December paper, question number 3, but they highlighted they have some issues in internal controls. And this time, I firmly believe that possible material misstatement can be included in the unaudited financial statements, because the recent financials given in the pre-scene, that's unaudited, and many places it has highlighted the issues in financial reporting, right? Therefore, the possible material misstatement can be tested along with the substantive testing audit procedures, right? It is highly probable, and accounting treatment on special items also can be tested. This is a new trend in question number 3. Last 2-3 papers they tested some special areas. For an example, that December they tested revenue SL1 15, right? Now this time 2-3 places they highlighted some identified accounting issues. The one example is the high volatility in the price in the share market which they have invested. That company invested shares and got treasury bills, right? And that CFO highlighted the high fluctuations of the share prices. In such a situation, how you measure the fair value of shares? It's a very important point to understand, and this can be tested this time. For this purpose, you have to go through the SLFRS 13 and SLFRS 9 as well. Don't worry, today I am explaining only the areas. Then during the session, I will take one by one to discuss with you, right? Okay, before moving to the other slides of the presentation, I will take the pre-scene, because not like in financial management, in this subject, we need to read the pre-scene together, right? It is must, because the entire pre-scene will be directly attached to the paper, ABR. Therefore, I will read the pre-scene with you and I will highlight on my screen. Then you also can highlight and make notes. The important points you can make note. Then next 8 days we can deeply discuss those areas, right? Ceylon Ayurveda Private Limited was established 1979. It was founded by the Herath family, hailing from the central province of Sri Lanka, right? Now, it's a family-owned business, family dominating the business, right? Therefore, the management override is there. That means that family members can override the control at any time because they have the dominance over the business. That's a very important point to understand, because when a single family dominating a business, there is a possibility of overriding the controls, right? Control may not be effective since that family members trying to do what they want. Then it's difficult to apply the corporate governance principles in such a situation. That's simply called management override, right? I think then you can highlight this sentence. You can highlight this sentence and you can note down there is a possible management override. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. The company manufactures and sells healthcare products, Ayurvedic pharmaceuticals, herbal beauty products, oil and beverage. Now, this is the next sentence you need to highlight. We are talking about advanced financial reporting. Therefore, from this sentence, what is the importance? They are in highly regulated industry, right? That's the point I want to emphasize. They are in highly regulated business because they are doing manufacturing and selling of healthcare products, Ayurvedic pharmaceuticals, herbal beauty products, oils and beverages. Those are under control of more rules and regulations, especially consumer protection rules, quality related rules, right? Therefore, there may be a possible non-compliance with those rules that may directly affect to the business, right? There is a possible risk of non-comply with those rules, right? And it's directly influence to the going concern of the business. Sometimes one breach of one rule may affect the license cancellation, right? Just note down at this level. Then in next days we can discuss in deeply. Note down operating in highly regulated industry. That point is enough. Then company head office is located in Kandy. It owns many agricultural plots of land in Kandy and Padukka to cultivate herbs. The main factory is located in Kandy and the second factory is located in Padukka. Company began to export its product to overseas market in early 2003. Today, the company has become a research-oriented company. The chairman and managing director of the company is Saman Herat. The board of directors also includes Zaman's son, Ruwan, and the daughter, Hansini. Ruwan joined the business after completing his degree in agricultural practices from the University of Peradeniya. Hansini has a master's degree in marketing and handles business development and overseas expansion. Saman is 75 years old. He is an entrepreneur and also a qualified Ayurvedic doctor. Company set up a research and development center in the financial year 21-22. The center was set up to develop new products to meet the high quality standard required by the customer. Now, this point gives you have additional information in other pages as well. That this point gives you, because you are in a business reporting, right? Research and Development Center they have developed. You can remember they borrowed money, 440 million to develop this center. Then more accounting issues can be arise with this point because they borrowed money. Then measurement and recognition of financial liability and the borrowing cost, recognition of borrowing cost, and classification and recognition of research and development expenditure. Those areas are more important in this time. Note down possible issues in research and development cost accounting, possible issues in borrowing cost accounting, possible issues in financial liabilities, that the borrowing, recognition of borrowing. 3 points you can take from this point, right? Research and development cost, how they have accounted it for, right? We don't know. Possible issues can be there. Then the borrowing cost, they borrowed 440 million to set up this system, right? Okay, then the company plans to implement a total quality management system due to complaints and some products. Liability claims filed by a few customers. There are few legal cases pending in court according to the company's lawyer. Now you can highlight this point. Now again, this raise the possible litigation and claims. Just note down possible litigation and claims. Then how auditor, because audit questions will be tested. You can't say this is not audit. So nobody can say this is not audit paper because this is include audit as well. I will show you. Nobody believe, but advanced financial reporting, I don't know why examiner testing audit, right? The study text also not included more audits the areas. Syllabus also not highlighted that audit is in the syllabus, but examiner testing audit. That's the question I also have. Then we can't question the examiner. We can't argue with him. Examiner just like the executive president of the country. Therefore, we have to adhere according to his rules, right? We can't question those things. Now I will show you how examiner testing audit. Here you can see, not this paper, I think July. Laksita, did you sit for this paper, July paper?
Yes, sir.
Remember you had some audit questions there.
Yes, sir.
here. Risk of material misstatements. Specific substantive audit procedures. 14 marks, right? In July paper. Then when it's come to December paper, advise your audit team how to conclude on opposite misstatements. That is audit, right? Advise your audit team. Therefore, you can have more audit questions, right? Based on this, because these financial statements are unaudited. Therefore, write down the sentence I have highlighted. This sentence, there is a possible litigation and claims. Then what are the audit procedures? How auditor handle those things? How finance manager handle those things in the financial reporting? Then how auditor handle those things in audit, right? Moving on. Herat's family owns 80% of the business. An overseas institutional investor, Blue Rock Capital, BRC, purchased 20% of shares in the financial year 2021, which were shares sold by someone with the objective of creating a more sustainable business with special focus on environmental, social, and governance. The company hopes to seek a listing on Diri Savi board now. This is the point where you need corporate governance requirement. The examiner can test the principles of corporate governance because this company lack of governance, right? It's clearly mentioned in the pre-scene. Therefore, the principles of corporate governance can be tested. That is not in the corporate code, governance code. You need to learn newly that governance principles. Then directly they will ask question from the code of best practice of corporate governance as well. Therefore, you have to ready for both, right? Best practice of corporate governance in the code plus principles. Both can be tested this time. I think this is a highly possible question due to their seeking a list in Colombo Stock Exchange. Then you have the shareholding structure. This is very important in your paper because that business combination question will link directly. You have 8 million shares. The current stake, you can see the percentage each shareholder has, right? Let's discuss what can be happen with the possible areas. Then governance and human resources. CAPL has a total workforce of nearly 500 staff. The company also sources staff for packaging purposes from 2 manpower agencies. Recently, a few workers employed by the manpower agencies complained to the HR department that their statutory dues had not been paid by the manpower agency. Again, you can have some possible litigation and claim here. You need to study what is the company's responsibility when they get employees from a manpower agency, right? Because here, to the manpower agency, you are making a rental payment. From that, manpower company will pay the salaries of the employees. If you get on the surface, there is no employee benefit when you pay for the manpower agencies. It's just like a outsource, right? But indirectly, you have a responsibility, you have a commitment with those workers because workers work for you. Is that clear, Dilara?
Yes, sir, clear.
Therefore, you need to study, note down what is the legal consequences with manpower workers. Note down what are the legal consequences, legal commitments with manpower workers. What are the accounting consequences for the payment of manpower agencies? People are working for you, but your payment making to the manpower agency. Then somebody can argue that is not an employee benefit. LKS 19, right? That is not an expense come under the LKS 19. Somebody can argue. We need to learn it properly. What are the legal consequences and what are the accounting consequences relating to the workers from manpower agencies? No doubt. Due to the quality related issues faced by the company and its legal consequences and accounting consequences relating to the work with manpower agencies. That's the topic, right? Due to the quality related issues faced by the company and its overseas expansion, it hopes to obtain the International Organization for Standardization, hazard analysis, critical control points, certifications. Right. There are nearly 100 staff in the executive and above categories. The due diligence carried out prior to the acquisition of the 20% shares by BRC revealed the following deficiencies in the HR governance and risk. These are the they directly pointed out these issues, right? Outdated information technology infrastructure, internal control issues, unlicensed software usage, possible litigation issues, lack of independent directors, corporate governance issues, lack of enterprise risk management, corporate governance issues, lack of documented policies and procedures, internal control issues, lack of audit committee, corporate governance issue, annual general meeting have not been held, governance issues, board minutes not maintained, the governance issues, right? Now you can see where they are trying to bring the paper, right? Let's take, just keep this point in your mind. We have to discuss those deeply in our next sessions. BRC Capital has initiated its intention to get CAPL listed on the Dirisavi board in the next financial year, and the chairman has agreed to this. Now they are more almost to be listed, right? Almost to be listed. Therefore, that corporate governance definitely tested from you. That's my argument. Company hopes to issue new shares to BRC in the next financial year, which will lead to dilution of the 18% currently owned by the family. Highlight. And if you can, underline as well. This is the most important and critical sentence you need to consider for the consolidation purpose. These funds are expected to be used to increase the production capacity in order to meet the demand of the overseas expansion. Right. This also very important to highlight. This is will connect with business combination part of the question. Let's discuss. I have short notes on that. A recent audit carried out by Central Environmental Authority revealed that there are few issues relating to the waste disposal, litigation issues, highlight possible litigation issues and going concern issues, right? Both litigation issues and going concern issues. Because if you lose the license, you won't be able to carry out the business. Then going concern issues also you have. Keep in your mind, going concern is a separate lesson of your syllabus, right? There's a possible going concern issue. The CEA, Central Environment Authority, has given the company 6 months to rectify the issues, failing which the license to operate may get revoked. 6 months to rectify the issue. What is the possible impact of this sentence, the underlying sentence? Now, Central Environmental Authority gave you 6 months to rectify the issue. That is it. We identified already, especially with this sentence. You already have the going concern issue. What's the impact of the directly? You have a direct impact to a one line item of the financial statement. Now, Environmental Authority gave you 6 months to rectify. Now you are committed to rectify it, right? Don't you require to make a provision? Provision is a present obligation, but the timing and amount is uncertain, right? You have a present obligation now. Am I correct? You have a present obligation here because they gave you 6 months to rectify. You must do it. Unless you will lose the business. Therefore, possible provisions and contingent liability impact here. Note down. Make a note there. එතකොට මේ පොයින්ට් එක highlight කරලා ලියා ගන්න provisions and contingent liability වල issue එකක් එනවා කියලා. Clear? The problem has been aggravated due to the few protests against the company organized by the villagers living in the vicinity of the factory. The company has many stakeholders, and it appears that the interests of certain stakeholders have not been properly identified and addressed. And this has led to a few issues. Stakeholder approach to governance has been recommended by the institutional shareholder, who is very keen on incorporating sustainability principles in its strategy development. The institutional shareholder has for two board positions. Underline this wording. What is it? Stakeholder approach to governance. This is available under the principle of corporate governance topic. You need to learn thoroughly. Very important, keep in your mind, right? Stakeholder approach to governance. We need to learn properly. It's in your syllabus. Then product portfolio and their percentages given. Sometime you can have a question. This is only connected to segment reporting to identify the segment, but this is not a listed entity. Therefore, it is not a compulsory mandatory requirement to report segment information, but sometime examiner can be tested segment information as well, right? One example, I just explained now, then you can go through the standard. Now here, basically to have a segment, it has to be reported at the first. You have to see whether it's a segment. Yes, you have 5 segment. Then you have to see whether it's a operating segment. To become an operating segment, each segment directly report to the CODM. They should have separate financials, right? They should generate income and income expenses separately. Those are the requirements. Then those become operating segment. Then you need to see whether those are reportable segment. It has to be reported 10% of the revenue or total asset or the profit. Now you can see here beverage not reported 10%. Then again there is a requirement in the segment reporting. You can combine 2 or more segments together if their economic characteristics are similar, right? Can you combine healthcare and pharmaceuticals? Can you combine herbal beauty products and essential oils? Can you combine oil and beverage? It can be tested in the exam, right? Not highly possible, but examiner can easily develop a question based on that. I don't know why they have included this information like this. Sometimes examiner have an intention to test the segment reporting. Therefore, note down SLFRS site segment reporting. You need to especially understand the standard. මතක් වෙනවද පුතා මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් මතක් කරද්දි මං කියයියදී මතක් වෙනවද ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක? right, එතකොට මේ අද අපි කතා කරනවා නිකන් උඩින් බලන්න ඕන ඔයාලා කියලා ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් වල. The pharmaceutical turnover shows 15% increase in the last year on year compared to the previous year. There is a high current year 15% increase. There is a high demand for essential oils, especially from overseas market. The increase in turnover in the essential oils category, 25% in the current year. The turnover of the other 3 product categories did not show any growth. Hansini Herath, who heads business development and overseas expansion, has formulated a plan to expand the local distribution network, which include appointing 5 new distributors this year. This is selling the goods through your own distributions or the third-party distributions. This directly influences your revenue recognition, right? At what time you can recognize revenue, that's very important. When you distribute goods to the distributors, there are possible revenue recognition issue. Note down. Revenue recognition issues can arise. However, she is mindful of the numerous frauds that took place invoicing to distributors who are no longer in the network. Therefore, fraud risk is there. Hence, she has taken note of the need to keep track of the work of future distributors to ensure their integrity in the conduct of the operations. Plans are also underway to open few company-owned retail outlets in the Western Province as given below. The investment per outlet is expected to 20 million. The company currently lacks a proper branding and intellectual property rights strategy. IPR is important as the company has invested in state-of-the-art research center. The cultivation of medical plants is carried out in the Western Province and Central Province. CAPL has also appointed many outgrowers and supported them through loan scheme. In this project, there are over 400 small-scale farmers who receive advice on novel agricultural practices and equipment. How many lands that company having? Kandy and Paduka. So, they land වල මොනවද කරන්නේ? හරක් ඇති කරනවාද? රේස් පදිනවද? මොකද කරන්නේ? Growing herbal plants නේද? Growing herbal plants කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒක balance sheet එකේ පේන්න තියෙනවද ඔයාලට? land ටිකයි ඒ land වල තියෙන ගස් ටිකයි වැල් ටිකයි ඔක්කොම property plant and equipment ඇතුළේ නේද ඇත්තේ? ඒක හරි වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් වරදින්නත් පුළුවන්. This business is not an agricultural business. That's the first argument. This is not an agricultural business. But they are growing plants, right? The growing part will be agricultural division. Then how they measure their plants, living plants? Is it a what called under PPE bearer plants? Sometimes they can be recognized those as bearer biological asset. Or they may have not even thinking about it. Because CFO mentioned they have so many issues in financial reporting. Whether they can be recognized those as biological assets, non-bearer plants under LKS 41 or bearer plants under LKS 16. These are the issues we have. Therefore, with that sentence, you need to note down here. In my sentence, possible accounting issues in the recognition of biological assets, right? Whether the bearer plants or non-bearer plants, what is the accounting treatment? Very important point. Like apply කරලා නැතුව ඇති අපි කොහොමද ඒක කරන්නේ? Then the raw material, extract of natural ingredients, natural products, herbal materials, and additives. Apart from the above, solvents, detergents, liquids, powder, packing material are also used as the material. Company is planning to purchase a software to automate the process related to field and factory operations, as a manual system is currently used. Right. Then capital expenditure, as we talked about, research and development center development, 440 million borrowed. That is the capital expenditure and borrowing cost issue we have there. We already discussed. Just note down. And how they accounting for their research and development expenditure. Right? That's the other issue. Accounting for capital expenditure, development of research center, then borrowing cost relating to the borrowing, and how they account for research and development expenditure. All three major issues having here. Right? Note down. CFPL is planning to procure new enterprise resource planning software to automate the whole operations. The CFO was keen to implement robotics, process automation, and business intelligence. The company spent nearly 27% of its turnover on distribution expenses, and CFO wants to appoint a consultant to carry out business process re-engineering exercise. Now the important part, accounting and finance. Company currently uses an outdated version of ACPAC. Several applications are used which are not integrated. That means there is a manual intervention between the systems. Data can be incomplete and inaccurate, note down. When there is a manual intervention between different programs, people want to take input from one system to feed it to another system. That means manual intervention within the system. Data may be incomplete, data may be inaccurate, right? Very important to highlight. Those are the possible material misstatements you need to consider. The external auditor has pointed out that a fully integrated ERP system should be implemented to minimize the large number of manual journal entries. Yes, that's true. We discussed that. The company also does not seem to have its IT policies in place, internal control issues, many IT control weaknesses, and excessive access right given to users were not in the IT general controls review carried out by the auditor. The auditor has raised concern about the capitalization of research and development expenses related to the R&D center. අපි මේක කතා කරා නේද පුතා? මේවා highlight කරලා තියාගන්න. එතකොට RD R&D cost එකේ accounting issues තියෙනවා. IT controls නෑ. IT controls වලගේ example මේ study pack එකේ තියෙනවා. ඒවා අහන්න පුළුවන්. Research and development cost expenditure issues, IT controls, application control and general controls අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඊළඟට manual intervention in the systems. Those are the issues. Then dividend declaration information, ethics, health and safety. Several complaints have been received by CBAPL on the quality of its product. අපි ලියාගත්ත litigations and claims. Someone has stated that a qualified quality assurance manager needs to be recruited immediately and international quality standards should be implemented in the company. Several quality certifications are currently sought by the company. The CFO is a chartered accountant and he is concerned about certain accounting treatment adopted by the company. After joining the company last year, he has voiced his concern to someone regarding the manner in which certain transactions are recognized in the financial statement, as he feels they do not conform to the standards. That's why I told you, someone can be tested some special areas. One or two accounting standard, most probably one. Very special one accounting treatment can be tested in the question number 3. Right? Financial information. මේක අපිට එන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට possible material misstatement මම දැනට කියයි යන්න. මේ points පොඩ්ඩක් highlight කරලා තියාගන්න. මෙන්න මේක තමයි පළවෙනි issue එක. Research and development expenditure charge කරලා තියෙන P&L එකට highlight කරගන්න. දක්ෂිත හරි නේද?
හරි සර්.
එතකොට පුතා මෙයාලා IFRS full IFRS යනවා නම් මේක කරන්න බෑ. SME යනවා නම් පුළුවන් නේ. SME වල development cost එක capitalize කරන්න කියන්නේ නැහැනේ. මතක ඇතිව SME standard එක download කරගන්න ඔයාලා. එතකොට research and development section එක කියවන්න. එතකොට මෙයාලා SME යනවා නම් මේක okay. SME යන්නේ නැත්නම් okay නෑ. right ඒකින්ද මේක highlight කරගන්න. distribution administration ඒවා අපිට පාලනය කරන්න බෑනේ. එතකොට finance income එක. මේ බලන්න finance income කියලා තියෙනවා 7 million මේක highlight කරගන්න. මම හේතුව කියන්නම්. finance cost එක අවුරුදු 3ෙම තියෙනවා. right ඊළඟට අපි යන්. එතකොට මේ බලන්න revaluation gain on property plant and equipment. revaluation gain එක මේ අවුරුද්දේ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා ගිය අවුරුදු වල නැහැ. මේ අවුරුද්දේ revaluation එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට deferred tax එක අරගෙන තියෙනවා revaluation එක මත මේ අනිත් ඒවා retirement benefit obligation නේ. මේ revaluation එක highlight කරගන්න. එතකොට ඔයාලට පේනවා මෙතන other financial assets කියලා අවුරුදු 3ෙම financial assets තියෙනවා. එතකොට මෙතනත් other financial assets කියලා අවුරුදු 3ෙම financial assets තියෙනවා. හැබැයි finance income එක තියෙන මේ අවුරුද්ද විතරයි නේද? අන්න ඒක note down කරගන්න. right එතකොට financial assets තියෙනවා හැම අවුරුද්දකම finance income එක තියෙන එක අවුරුද්දක විතරයි. ඊළඟට යාලා other comprehensive income වල කියනවා they have revalued their property plant and equipment කියලා. revaluation gain එක හඳුනා තියෙනවා නේද 101. ඉතින් බම් මෙතන මේ revaluation එක අවුල් නේද බැලුවම පොඩක් බලන්න. එතකොට equity එකේ 101 කියලා යනවා revaluation. ඒක deferred tax එක කීයක් තියෙන්නේ? 101 එකෙන් 28ක් ගියාම 73යි හරිනේ. හරිනේ? right net එක එනවා මෙතනට. එතකොට මෙතන 73යි ඒක හරි. 73 කින්නේ වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. retained earnings, loan and borrowings, retirement benefit obligation, deferred tax, එතකොට මෙන්න මේ deferred tax එකෙත් ආයි issue එකක් එනවා. දැන් property plant deferred tax එක highlight කරගන්න මේක අහන්න අපිට ලියන්න වෙනවානේ material misstatements වලට. දැන් when there is a revaluation, generally the possibility is to have higher deferred tax liability. But comparing to the last year, you have deferred tax asset. So deferred tax asset එනකට වඩා deferred tax liability එකක් එන probability වැඩි. හේතුව you have revaluation of property plant and equipment. You have invested massive amount on research and development center building. Then you have additional property plant and equipment during the year. You have increased your PPE by revaluation. Therefore, deferred tax liability has to be increased substantially. But here it was decreased. Note down that point. That's all the important information in the balance sheet and the P&L. Then this is the very important point. මෙන්න මේකට ඔයාලා කියවන්න ඕන පුතේ SLFRS 13 එකයි SLFRS 9 එකයි. ඒක note down කරගන්න අනිවාර්යෙන්. SLFRS 13 කියවන්න ඕන ඉස්සෙල්ලා. ඊළඟට SLFRS 9. අයි 13 කියවන්නේ පුතේ? අයි 13 කියවන්න ඕන?
fair value එක කියන්නේ share prices volatile වෙනවා කියනනේ එතකොට
fair value එක ඒ වගේ වෙලාවක ගන්න කොහොමද කියන එක පැහැදිලි නේද? හරි. එතනදී පුතේ ඔයාලට තියෙනවා SLFRS 13 වල අර fair value of non financial asset කියලානේ අර highest and best use කියන topic එකේ ඉන්නේ. එතනින් පස්සේ topic එකක් තියෙනවා fair value of financial assets කියලා. අන්නේ part එක detail කියවන්න. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ IFRS 9 වලට ගිහිල්ලා fair value measurement එක අනිවාර්යෙන් බලන්න. paragraph 2 වල වගේ ඉඳන් මට මතක ඉස්සරහට තියෙන්නේ. හරි? මම මේ වෙලාවට ගන්නම් කතා කරද්දී දැන්ට මම මේ වලට කියලා තියෙන්නේ බලන්න ඕන area ටික. මොකද මෙතන මේ වගේ fluctuation වෙන වෙලාවක what you can do, that is very important. ඒතකොට මේ forecast එක අපිට වැඩක් නැහැ. financial information උත් අපිට වැඩක් නැහැ. future දේවල් නෙමෙයිනේ financial reporting වලදී බලන්නේ. එතකොට එක දෙයක් තියෙනවා going concern issue එකක් තියෙන වෙලාවක අර forecast එකක් වැදගත් වෙනවා. නමුත් දැන් මේකේ balance sheet එක බැලුවොත් financially going concern issue එකක් නැහැ. ඒක නිසා forecast එක ඕන වෙන්නේ නැහැ. legal පැත්තෙන් going concern issues ආවට operational පැත්තෙන් going concern issues නැහැ. because they are doing well. ඒකින්ද forecast එක අපිට එච්චර වැදගත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද forecast එකෙන් බලන්න පුළුවන් whether they can generate profits in future, right? You can say yes, they have a possibility of overcoming this situation, but they currently making profits, right? So ඔය ටික තමයි pre-scene එකේ ඔයාලට ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට මෙතන corporate governance issues තියෙන board එකේ ඉන්නේ 3 දෙනයි. ඒවා අපි corporate governance වලදී කතා කරමු. ඒතකොට මේ 3 දෙනා ඇතුලේ කිසිම කෙනෙකුට මම දැන්ට නිකන් කියලා තියන්නම්. board composition එකට අනුව this is not sufficient board, right? No independent directors, no non-executive directors, and no person possess financial acumen. board එකේ ඉන්න member කෙනෙකුට financial knowledge එක තියෙන්න ඕන කියලා කියනවානේ. ඒ කියන්නේ board වලට chartered accountant ලා පත් කරන්නේ දැන්. ඔය ලොකු කම්පැනි අරන් බලන්න හැම board එකෙම chartered accountant කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. හරි? ඒතකොට එහෙම පත් කරන්නේ board එක තුල finance decision පිළිබඳ අවබෝධයක් තියෙන්න ඕන ඉඳන්. මෙතන board එක ඇතුලේ කාටවත් finance knowledge එකක් නැහැ. මෙන්න මේවා critical. හරි? ඒක නිසා පොඩක් ඒ board composition එක බලන්න corporate governance වල අපි ඉස්සරහට ඒකට අදාළ ප්‍රශ්න කතා කරමු, answer ලියන විදිය කතා කරමු. right? එතකොට මේ ටික තමයි මට ගන්න තියෙන pre-scene එකේ කතා කරද්දී ඊට පස්සේ අපි යම් presentation එකට. ඒ අනුව තමයි පුතේ මම මේ possible area 5 හඳුනාගත්තේ. ක්ලියර්නේ දිල්හාරා. right? එතකොට අපි ඉතින් පළවෙනි එකට යමු. that is business combination. මම අද මේ ප්‍රශ්න සහ උත්තර කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. මම වෙන්න පුළුවන් ටික තමයි කියන්නේ. මීට අදාළ ප්‍රශ්න ඉස්සරහට කතා කරනවා. right? එතකොට business combination එකේ right. එතකොට business combination එකට මෙන්න මේ කාරණා තුන ඉතා වැදගත්. They are going to be listed. Hansini was to expand the business into overseas, and CAPL issue shares to the BRC, Blue Rock Capital, by diluting their ownership. and those new funds will be utilized to increase the production capacity. හරි. ඔන්න ඔය වැදගත් ඔන්න ඔය කාරණා තුන. එතකොට going to listing කියන එක list වෙන්න යනවා කියන එක පුතේ corporate governance වලට අදාළ ප්‍රශ්නයක්. මෙන්න මේ දෙක very important. You will issue new shares to BRC, Blue Rock Capital BRC, by diluting your existing family shares, and those funds will be invested in increasing production capacity for the overseas expansion. Right? That's the entire story. Based on that, I have identified two possible scenarios, but before moving to the two possible scenario, let's see the current situation. This is the current situation. Saman ආර්වලින් නමක් කෙනෙක් තමයි රුවන් සහ හංසිනි. තාත්තයි පුතයි දුවයි. They have this holding. Then BRC, Blue Rock Capital. මම මේක පොඩ්ඩක් highlight කරා. Blue Rock Capital has 20%. හංසිනි Blue Rock Capital එකේ කවුරු හරි දැන්ට ඩිරෙක්ටර් කෙනෙක් විදිහට බෝඩ් එකේ ඉන්නවද? Blue Rock Capital එකේ කවුරු හරි දැන්ට ඩිරෙක්ටර් කෙනෙක් විදිහට බෝඩ් එකේ ඉන්නවද? බලන්න ඉන්නවද කියලා? සමන් රුවන් හංසිනි ඒ පවුලේ අය. ගයාන් පොන්සේකා ඩොක්ටර් ශානක වීරසූරිය මේ කවුරුත් මේ බ්ලූ රොක් එකෙන් පත් කරපු අය මැනේජ්මන්ට් එකෙත් බ්ලූ රොක් එකේ කවුරුත් නැහැ බෝඩ් එකෙත් කවුරුත් නැහැ නේද? එතකොට පුතා මේ ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන් එක මම දැන් හදලා තියෙන එක බලන්නකෝ. එතකොට මේ ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එක දැන් මේ බ්ලූ රොක් කැපිටල් කියන්නේ මිනිස්සෙක්ද එන්ටිටි එකක්ද පුතේ?
entity.
එන්ටිටි එකක්. එතකොට මේ බ්ලූ රොක් කැපිටල් ෆයිනෑන්ෂල්ස් වල මේ ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එක තියෙන්න ඕනද නැද්ද? investment in CAPL කියලා තියෙනවා නේද? 20%. Right. No member in the board even. Do BRC has control over CAPL? They don't have control. Do they have joint control?
No.
No. Do they have at least significant influence over CAPL? හරි. එතකොට significant influence එකක් තියෙන්න නම් LKS 28 වල paragraph 6 වලට අනුව at least you should have one member in the board or you have senior management. එහෙම කවුරුත් නැහැ නේද මේකේ BRC එකේ?
නෑ සර්.
ඒ කියන්නේ investment in CAPL අනිවාර්යෙන් ඇත්තේ fair value through OCI investment එකක් විදියට නේ පුතේ. BRC की फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट वाला सर BRC කියන්නේ local company ද foreign company ද ඔබ page එකේ තියෙනවනේ බලන්න foreign company. ඒතකොට මේ foreign company accounts වල මේක අනිවාර්යෙන් තියෙන්න ඕන investment in financial asset විදියට තියෙන්න ඕන fair value through OCI investment එකක් විදියට. ඒක පැහැදිලි නේද පළවෙනි කාරණේ? ඒත් මේ point එක පොඩක් ඔළුවේ හොඳට තියාගන්න. මේ තියෙන දැන්ට තියෙන situation එක. එතකොට now CAPL wants to issue shares to BRC. CAPL will issue new shares to BRC. හරිනේ? එතකොට මෙයාලගේ share holding එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? අඩු වෙනවා. හරියට හරි. එතකොට මේ issue කරන shares නිසා the ownership will increase. මම කතා කරන්නේ BRC එක පැත්තේ. The holding on CAPL by BRC will increase. That can be increased up to associate level or joint venture level or subsidiary level නේ. right. මම ඒ අනුව මෙන්න මෙහෙම එක සිටුේෂන් එකක් හඳුනාගත්තා. දැන් අපිට හිතන්න බෑනේ පුතේ මේ සමන් කියන කෙනා තමන්ගේ කම්පැනි කන්ට්‍රෝල් එක වෙන කෙනෙකුට තනිකරම දෙයි කියලා. හිතන්න පුළුවන්ද එහෙම? එහෙම දෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි නේද? එහෙම දුන්නොත් කාට වෙච්ච දේද වෙන්නේ? අපි තනියෙන් පෞද්ගලික සමාගමක් විදිහට අවුරුදු ගාණක් ගොඩනගලා ඒකේ ගොඩාක් ෂෙයාර්ස් වෙන කෙනෙකුට දුන්නම ඒ වගේ කම්පැනි එකකට උනා ලංකාවේ. මොකද්ද ඒ කම්පැනි මොඩෙල් එක? මම දන්න විදිහට 1992 තමයි ඔටාරා මැතිනිය පටන් ගන්න බිස්නස් එක. එයාගේ වැගන්නාර් එකෙන් රෙදි මහගෙන ගිහලා පාරවල් අයින් තියලා විකුණලා. ජයවර්ධන කියන ෆැමිලි එකේ කෙනෙක් නේ ඔටාරා කියන එක්කෙනා. මේ මැතිනිය එක පටන් අරන් 98 2008 හෝ 9 ලිස්ට් කරනවා. 102ක් හෝ 3ක් පබ්ලික් එකට යනවා 148ක් යනවා පාක්ස් ඇන්ඩ් රීටේලර්ස් කියන ෂෙයා මැලේසියන් කම්පැනියට. ෆැමිලි එකට ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ 140 ගාණයි. එතකොට යාළුවට ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් එනවා අනිත් ෂෙයා හෝල්ඩර්ස් ලගේ. අන්තිමට දැන් මේ ෆැමිලි එකට කම්පැනි ආйти නෑ. දැන් මුළු කම්පැනියම ආйти සොෆ්ට් ලොජික් එකට. ඒ වගේ හින්දා ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට ෆැමිලි එක කෙනෙක් කන්ට්‍රෝල් එක පිටින්ම දෙයි කියලා හිතන්න පුළුවන් පිට කෙනෙකුට. කන්ට්‍රෝල් එකම දෙයි. ඒක නිසා මම එක සිටුේෂන් එකක් තේරුම් ගත්තා. මම මේ නිකන් ඉලක්කම් දැම්මේ. This is the existing situation before new issue. එයාලා 140ක් වගේ වෙනකන් ෂෙයා ඉෂුව කරයි. ඒ වුණොත් අනිත් අයගේ හෝල්ඩින් එක වෙනස් වෙනවා මේ විදිහට. They will issue 2.6 million shares to BRZ. Then BRZ will get 40%. Sometimes this may be 30, right? 40 ම වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. 30 වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට උඩායගේ රේට් එක වැඩි වෙන එක වෙන්නේ. Number of shares වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අපි ගණන් හදද්දි කරමු. මම නිකන් ඔළුවට idea එක දෙන එක කරන්නේ අද. කොහොම හරි they will give shares less than 50% to the BRZ and Saman and BRC will jointly control CAPL. So BRC එකට මේක CAPL එක joint venture එකක් වෙනවා. Is that clear? Then examiner give you the information. They won't tell you this is a joint venture. They will tell you like this. CAPL will issue 2.6 million shares to BRZ and they will enter into an agreement. Saman and BRC will enter into an agreement. They will take decisions, manufacturing decision, distribution decision, dividend distribution decision, share issue decisions, share cancellation decision, everything will jointly take by Saman and BRC. All these activities, they need unanimous consent. Likewise, they will give you a story and will ask you to understand the structure. Then you have to say it's a joint venture. Can be a joint venture. Then you know once they issue shares to BRC, CAPL has additional money. That money can be utilized to buy a foreign company or join with a foreign company. Right? මෙන්න මේ වගේ කතන්දරයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර ඒක ඇතුලේ ගොඩක් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න පුළුවන්. Now if CAPL become a joint venture to BRC, you can't forget because they had 20% financial asset. Then that financial asset will convert into joint venture. How you can apply equity method, step acquisition up to joint venture? What is the equity method of accounting under BRC accounts? You may have to advise them, right? Those are the questions. I will bring model questions, don't worry. But I am giving you to think. That's the one possible area. They had, I am talking about the BRC side. BRC had 20% on CAPL. They got another 2.6 million shares and they have joint venture agreement. Step acquisition, how you can apply equity method. What is the accounting treatment? Advise them. First question, how BRC should recognize CAPL? Then you have to evaluate the agreement. Thereafter, you have to compare it with SLFRS 3 business combination, SLFRS 10 consolidation, SLFRS 11 joint venture and associate, LKS 28. Everything you have to evaluate and see whether it is a subsidiary or joint venture. Then you need to advise how to calculate equity method accounting. Because you know under equity method you are not going to identify goodwill, but you need to identify gain on bargaining purchase. That's equity method accounting. Those can be tested, right? මේක වෙයි කියලා මම හිතන්නේ අය දන්නවද පුතේ? මේ LOLC එක මේ ළඟදී HNB එකේ significant shares වගේක් ගත්ත දන්නවද ඔයාලා?
ඔව් සර්.
එහෙම අරගෙන ඒක joint venture එකක් හරි associate එකක් විදියට accounts තිබ්බා LOLC එකේ. HNB finance මොකේද ගත්තේ පුතේ? HNB bank එකේද? බලන්න ගිහිල්ලා LOLC accounts publish කරලා තියෙනවා P&L එකේ තියෙනවා gain on bargaining purchase කියලා. මොකද equity method එකේ කියනවා when you acquire an associate you can't recognize goodwill. Goodwill will remain in the investment. But if there is a gain on bargaining purchase, it has to be recognized in P&L කියලා. ඒක clearly LKS 28 වල කියනවා. අන්නේ පොයින්ට් එක ටෙස්ට් කරයිද කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. ඒකයි මම මේ කැලේ දැම්මේ. LOLC එකේ recent available interim accounts ගන්න. එතකොට 31 මාර්ච් වලට interim accounts ඇති LOLC website. මම ඔයාලට ඒක පැහැදිලිව දාලා තියෙනවා බලන්න. මම ගන්න බලන්නම් ඉන්න. ඒකෙත් step acquisition එකක් තියෙන්නේ. මේ LOLC මොකෙන්ද ගත්තේ? LOLC finance ද? හරි මම ඒක හොයාගෙන ඉන්න. ඔයාලා පොඩ්ඩක් හොයලා ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකේ ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන් අරන් බලන්න මට හිතෙනවා ඒ කොටස අහයි කියලා. හරි. right. දෙවැනි එක තමයි පුතේ සමහර විට CAPL will issue more shares. මම නිකන් amount එකක් දැම්ම 60% එන විදියට 4.8 million shares to BRC. BRC එකට issue කරනවා CAPL එකෙන් shares, then they will get 60%. Then automatically CAP will become a subsidiary of BRC. Again, you have step acquisition because financial asset to subsidiary. Then BRC become the parent of CAPL. CAPL is a subsidiary for BRC. Then that money can be utilized to buy a new entity in foreign country. It may be a subsidiary or joint venture. Tentative, right? That can be another question. Basically, පුතේ ඔතනින් තමයි ඔයාලට ප්‍රශ්නේ එන්නේ. හරි? CAPL will issue shares to BRC. Then BRC become a investor having significant influence, or BRC become an investor having joint control on CAPL, or BRC become the parent of CAPL. These are the three possible things that can be tested. ඒක පැත්තක්. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් once CAPL issue shares to BRC, one side BRC become a significant investor or joint investor or parent. Other side CAPL will utilize those cash to increase their production capacity. How can company increase their production capacity? They can buy their own machineries, plant and equipment, and set up the production plant. But it is not the best method nowadays. Nowadays, to increase the production capacity, you can acquire a similar company with their quality standards. Therefore, the new share issue proceed can be utilized to acquire another business. Then what happens? CAPL will have a subsidiary or joint venture. Meantime, BRC become the parent or joint venture investor or significant investor of CAPL. All these things can be given together. අදහසක් ආවද වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක මම සිංහලෙනුත් කියන්නම්කෝ මෙන්න මේක පුළුවන් මට හිතෙන්නේ CAPL එක ෂෙයා ඉෂුව කරනවනේ BRC එකට. එතකොට BRC එකට තියෙන අයිතිය වැඩි වෙනවා. දැන්ට ෆයිනෑන්ෂල් ඇසෙට් එකක් විදිහට එයාලා තියන් ඉන්නේ CAPL එක. ඒක සමහර විට සිග්නිෆිකන්ට් ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එකකට ගිහිල්ලා BRC එකට CAPL එක ඇසෝසියේට් එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒත් අපි CAPL පැත්තේ ඉඳන් කතා කරොත් BRC become a significant investor. BRC ගේ accounts වලට ගිහිල්ලා කතා කරොත් CAPL is an associate. Or sometimes CAPL become a joint venture or subsidiary. ඒක එක කතන්දරයක්. ඒක ඇනලයිස් කරලා goodwill calculate කරලා advice කරන්න කියයි. ඒක එකක්. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් CAPL has no cash because they issued shares, right? අන්නේ සල්ලි වලින් මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? Question එකේ පැහැදිලිව කියනවා they want to expand their production capabilities to go to the overseas market. The company production capability වැඩි කරන්නේ කොහොමද? දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට production capabilities වැඩි කරන්න පුතා අපිට machineries එහෙම ඔක්කොම අරගෙන ආවිලා ඉඩමක් අරන් ඒවා fix කරලා වැඩේ පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? ඊට වඩා ලේසි නැද්ද අපි වගේම business එක කරන company එකක් acquire කරන එක? ඈ මොකද වර්තමානයේ පුතේ strategy එක තමයි අපි අපේ production plan දාන්න නැතුව outsource කරනවා production එක. නැත්නම් අපි joint venture එකක් විදිහට වෙන company එකක් එක්ක join වෙනවා. නැත්නම් වෙන company එකක් අපි acquire කරනවා. ඒක නේද දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට වෙන්නේ. ඒක නිසා අර ආපු සල්ලි ටිකෙන් they can acquire another similar company local or internationally. ඒක international වුණොත් ආයි foreign currency case එකක් එනවා. ඒකින්ද අපි foreign currency කතා කරලා මෙයන් මේ පාර ඔන්න ඔයක ඇතුලේ ප්‍රශ්න ටික එයි කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. ඒතර මම හදන මොඩල් ක්වෙස්චන්ස් මම ඕක ඇතුලේ හදනවා. රයිට්? ඕක ඇතුලේ මොඩල් ක්වෙස්චන්ස් ටික මම ඩෙවලොප් කරනවා. එක පැත්තක් නෙමෙයි දෙපැත්තටම යන්න වෙනවා. එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්නේ නැහැ. මෙන්න මේ පළවෙනි කොටස ඇහුවොත් මගේ කර්සර් එක පේනවද පුතා? මම ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ කර්සර් එක මූව් කරනවා පේනවද ඔයාලට? මෙන්න මේ කොටසෙන් පුතේ අහන්නේ ස්ටෙප් ඇක්විසිෂන් එකක් up to subsidiary or joint venture or associate, how to recognize the structure and how to calculate the goodwill or gain from bargaining purchase. You have to advise that. ඒක ලොකු කතන්දරයක් පුතේ. Because you have existing holding. You have to measure it at fair value. You need to bring the new purchase. ඔය ටික එකට තියලා තමයි වැඩේ කරන්න වෙන්නේ. එතකොට ඔය ටික විතරක් අහලා නිකන් ඉන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ මේ පැත්තට එනවා. CAPL will buy new business. Or CAPL will buy new plant or machineries. Right? දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට පුතේ CAPL එකට ගිහිල්ලා පුළුවන් නේද මිලදී ගන්න අපි වගේම බිස්නස් එක කර හිට ඉඳලා කොවිඩ් නිසා වහලා දාලා තියෙන බිස්නස් එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද ගිහිල්ලා කොවිඩ් නිසා වහලා දාලා තියෙන බිස්නස් එකක් මිලදී ගන්නවා කියන්නේ බිස්නස් එකක්ද ඇසට්ද ගන්න. එතකොට අපි හොඳට ස්ටඩි කරන්න ඕනේ නේද SLFRS 3 බිස්නස් කම්බිනේෂන් එකේ බිස්නස් කියන ඩෙෆිනිෂන් එක. ඔන්න ඔය පොයින්ට් අහයි කියලා මට හිතෙන්නේ පුතේ. හරි? පහලා දාලා තියෙන කම්පැනියක් ඇක්වයර් කරාම whether it is acquisition or purchase of list of assets. හරියට ඩිසයිඩ් කරන්නේ. හරි නැත්තම් කිලිම කියලා ෆොරින් කම්පැනියක් ඇක්වයර් කරන්න හරි ජොයින්ට් වෙන්චර් එකක් හරි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්තම් පුතේ production plant එකක් jointly operate කරන්න පුළුවන් තව කෙනෙක් එක්ක. ඒක joint operations වෙනවා. joint operations ආලම නැහැනේ. joint operation අහන්නත් පුළුවන්. CAPL එකෙන් දෙපැත්තටම අහයි. සමහර විට මාර්තු 31 වෙනිදාට 31st March 2022 is the latest day. The 31st March you can receive the financial information of the new entity they are going to buy. An examiner will ask you to console if CAPL acquired more than 50% with the control. Then they will ask you to prepare the consolidated balance sheet. That's the possible question, right? Now we can ready for maximum, I think, out based on this structure, maximum 5-6 scenarios we can practice. Very important to understand that thing because I believe one out of this can be tested. Okay, let's see. Then moving into the other, this is that production. මම මේක මේ දාලා තියෙන්නේ ඔයාලා මෙතනට මොකද්ද බලන්න ඕන LKS 8 කියන්නේ බං policies changes accounting errors නේ SLFRS 8 හරි මේකට SLFRS 8 බලන්න අනිවාර්යෙන් පිටුවත් 3-4ක ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකක් නේ මේ capital expenditure ටික මම තියන්නේ හරියා information technology එකත් එක මොකද මෙතන තියෙනවා possible material statements ගන්න ඊට පස්සේ මේ financing මොකද මෙතන බරෝ කරලා තියෙනවා 440 million borrowing cost issue එකක් කියනවා because this is special borrowing එකක්. Then special borrowing to construct the research and development center. Therefore borrowing cost capitalization ලංකාවේ එක mandatory for qualifying assets. එකත් එක්ක check කරයි නැත්නම් material misstatement ලියන්න එන්න පුළුවන්. right ඒකයි මම ඒක තියන්න හරියේ. ඒතකොට ওই ටික presentation එකේ තියෙන්නේ මම දින දාලා තියෙන්නේ class එකට බ්‍රහස්පතින්ද සහ සිකුරාදා. එතකොට මම බ්‍රහස්පතින්දම පටන් ගන්නවා consolidation question කතා කරන්න. ඉතුරු ඒරියා ටිකත් එක මම ඒරියා 5ක් හඳුනගෙන තියෙනවානේ. මම මොඩල් ප්‍රශ්න ටිකත් අරන් එන්නම් කතා කරන්න අපි අද highlight කරපු areas ටික. එහෙනම් සියලු දෙනාටම good night and have a nice week.